Good morning. My name is Tom Conkle. I'm a cybersecurity engineer with Optic Cyber Solutions. Today I wanted to take a few moments to talk about the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, CMMC, program. We recently put out another video providing a CMMC overview, but in this video I'd like to pick up where the last video from Kelly Hood concluded by going a little deeper into the reason, purpose, and timeline for CMMC. The CMMC program is going through the final stages before becoming an official DFARS rule, which has increased awareness and is driving a lot of conversation around what's coming. As a reminder, the reason the DoD is creating the CMMC program is to verify contractors are properly protecting DoD sensitive information, including federal contract information, or FCI, and controlled unclassified information, or CUI. The CMMC program builds a trust but verify requirement into existing security requirements for contractors supporting the DoD. The existing security requirements in the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement, or DFARS, requires Defense Industrial Base, or DIB, organizations to self-attest that their cybersecurity capabilities meet the SP 800-171 Rev 2 requirements. CMMC is simply a verification program to confirm DIB organizations have implemented these requirements shown here on the slide. To be clear, CMMC does not introduce any new security requirements. It is just introducing a certification or verification process around the existing requirements to confirm DoD contractors have properly implemented the security controls. We know that there are 3 levels within the model, and you need to reach various levels based on the data you process. But do you know what data you have? The first type of data I'd like to talk about is Federal Contract Information, or FCI. FCI is information that is not intended for public release. It is typically provided by or generated for the government under a contract to develop or deliver a product or service to the government. Federal Acquisition Regulation, or the FAR Clause 52.204-21, the Basic Safeguarding of Controlled Contractor Information Systems, identifies 15 security requirements for protecting FCI. These 15 security requirements align directly with the security requirements for CMMC Level 1. The next type of data I'd like to talk about is Controlled Unclassified Information, or CUI. Controlled Unclassified Information is unclassified U.S. government information that requires additional safeguarding and controlling beyond FCI. While still unclassified, it must remain protected from unauthorized disclosure. The CUI program is operated by the National Archives and Record Administration, or NARA. They standardize the way the executive branch handles unclassified information that requires safeguarding or dissemination controls. This covers what used to be defined as FOUO, SBU, SSI, and CII, to name a few. The DFARS originally established a requirement for organizations bidding on DoD contracts to attest they had implemented the 110 security requirements of SP 800-171 Rev 2, which is the standard for protecting controlled unclassified information in non-federal systems and organizations. As mentioned previously, CMMC is now taking this attestation or self-assessment to the next level by requiring third-party assessments to verify that these requirements are in place for organizations processing, storing, transmitting, or protecting CUI. The CMMC Level 2 requirements are the exact same requirements as those defined in SP 800-171 Rev 2. There is also a concept of critical CUI that requires enhanced security protections. This CUI is typically thought to be of high interest to advanced persistent threats, or APTs, in nation states. If you have this type of data, you will need to reach CMMC Level 3 and meet 24 additional requirements from SP 800-172, which is the Enhanced Security Requirements for Protecting Controlled Unclassified Information. It's a supplement to NIST's Special Publication 800-171. Once the CMMC program is rolled out, it'll be even more critical to understand what types of data you have and therefore which CMMC level you will need to be required to meet. We'll begin seeing requirements for DoD contracts as early as 2025 for bidders to have an assessment or to be certified against one of the 3 levels prior to the contract's award. Additionally, prime contractors are required to flow down all CMMC controls based on the type of data provided to subcontractors. Therefore, if the prime has CUI and is required to maintain a level 2 certification, the subcontractor that have access to the prime CUI must also have a level 2 certification. So if you don't know what type of data you have today, it would be wise to start looking into this now. And if you're not sure, reach out to your contracting officer or primes to get some clarity. We've been working with companies to help them better understand what they have, and it typically takes quite some time to straighten out. So now that we understand a little bit more about the different types of data that CMMC is trying to protect, we need to understand more about the requirements. So what are the requirements? If you only need to meet level 1, you have to complete a self-assessment of 15 requirements across the 6 domains that you see highlighted here. However, if you have CUI, you will need to meet requirements across all 14 domains. The 14 security domains directly align with the security families from NIST SP 800-171 Rev 2 and include these things such as access control, which ensures users only have access to information they need to perform their duties, incident response to ensure plans are in place to contain and mitigate cyber incidents such as data breaches, personnel security, since everyone has a past and we need to ensure that they can be trusted with CUI, physical protections to ensure CUI is protected from physical attacks and CUI and systems aren't operated from the parking lot, and system and information integrity to ensure you know what normal looks like so that you can identify anomalies when they occur. So when do I need to have these requirements in place? The exact timing of when organizations being awarded DoD contracts need to demonstrate compliance with CMMC depends on the government's rulemaking process. The CMMC rules 32 CFR and 48 CFR must be finalized before the program can go live. Let's discuss each rule a little further to understand why they are required and how they work together. 32 CFR, the CMMC program rule, will likely be finalized by the end of this year, 2024. This is the proposed rule that defines the characteristics and components of the CMMC program. This rule establishes the 3 levels, defines the requirements for each level, and identifies the types of assessments that are required based on the type of data processed by a contract. Without this rule, 48 CFR wouldn't make sense. So 48 CFR is the CMMC acquisition rule. It is expected to be finalized in 2025. This is the rule that establishes the contractual requirements for CMMC. This is why it's important for 32 CFR rule to be in place first, or at the same time. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what is being implemented by 48 CFR. This rule will provide guidance to contracting officers on when and how to include CMMC within their procurements, including during execution of option years within existing awards. However, this doesn't mean there won't still be market drivers, such as primes, asking for CMMC in the meantime. Once 32 CFR is in place and the CMM program is established, CMMC assessments can begin in earnest. You, and more importantly, your primes, don't need to wait until the government mandate, the 48 CFR rule, before getting ready. It typically takes anywhere between 6 and 18 months, conservatively, to be prepared for CMMC. Therefore, if you wait until it shows up in a RFQ, you won't have time to be prepared and certified prior to the contract's award. So who needs to be involved? As you begin preparing for CMMC, it's important to scope your environment and understand where FCI and CUI will be processed, stored, and transmitted. Equally important is understanding who is managing and controlling access to your FCI and CUI. CMMC requires that if you have a partner that are helping you secure your environment, such as a managed service provider or MSP, or a managed security service provider or MSSP, that they be included within the scope of your assessment. In CMMC, we label these types of organizations as external service providers or ESPs. They are third-party organizations that help maintain your environment where CUI is processed. These ESPs will be required to obtain their own CMMC Level 2 certification to demonstrate they understand the CMMC security requirements and can properly protect access to CUI. If your ESP also stores, processes, and transmits CUI and not just manages the environment, specifically if they are a cloud service provider, they are also required to obtain a FedRAMP moderate or high authority to operate or ATO, or demonstrate that they meet security requirements equivalent to FedRAMP moderate, to include being assessed by an authorized third-party assessment organization. Therefore, it is equally as important to understand which third parties and partners need to be scoped into your environment as it is to understand whether you have FCI, CUI, or critical CUI. As we continue to near mandates for CMMC, the buzz will continue to grow. It's important to remain current on any changes as the rules are finalized. However, as I previously mentioned, the security requirements in CMMC are not new. Many of the components, specifically SP 800-171, have been around for nearly a decade and have been mandated for defense contractors since 2017. We know enough about the program to get started with CMMC today, including that it's taking companies anywhere from 6 to 18 months to roll out the requirements and develop a sufficient body of evidence for a third party to validate. If you contract or subcontract to the DoD, you should start understanding what type of DoD information you have in your environment. Do you have FCI or CUI? And if so, where is the data stored, processed, and transmitted? Feel free to reach out if you're struggling to answer any of these questions. As a registered practitioner organization, or RPO, Optic Cyber Solutions has been partnering with companies to identify what sensitive information they have and identify any gaps in their cybersecurity program. You'll also need to identify which of your third parties are used to process, store, transmit, or protect CUI. And you'll need to ensure those partners are aware of your expectations of them to meet CMMC requirements. Many MSPs are unaware of the CMMC requirements, especially if they don't contract directly with the DoD. I'd recommend getting in front of this soon to see if your MSP might actually hinder your company from being certified. While there are many more details involved in the CMMC program, I hope this has been a helpful overview of CMMC. I've included several resources on this slide here, so be sure to check them out. In particular, I wanted to point out Optic's free CMMC profile template. This is a great resource for getting started with CMMC and beginning to understand where you may have gaps in your program. Again, my name is Tom Conkle. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to learn more about CMMC. Optic Cyber Solutions strives to help organizations identify and address their blind spots through our assessment, implementation, and advising services. For more information about Optic Cyber Solutions and how we can help you gain confidence in your cybersecurity, reach out at info@opticcyber.com or check out our website at opticcyber.com.